Hi, my name's Amy and I'm the Senior Conservator at the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. I'm going to speak to you about looking after some of your objects within the home. There are a number of different types of damage that we see with objects, but of course it differs depending on what type of material you have. You may have textiles, glass, ceramic, wood, leather, and the like. There are also composite objects such as books, which may have leather and paper, and metals, which have textiles and metal. Different types of damage include scratching, dents, tarnishing, corrosion, breakages, discoloration, staining, and these sorts of things. It is important to look at a range of different things when looking after your objects. When handling, it is important to always ensure that you're supporting an item, particularly things that may have handles or pieces that protrude that may be delicate. Also look at where you store things and display things. When preserving your objects, it's important to look at a range of things in order to care for them. These include how you handle them. You may think about how you lift things. A lot of items have handles that may be delicate, so it's often important to support them from underneath rather than just lifting them from the actual handle. Always support your item, no matter what it is, including flat boxes. Also look at where you store things and where you display items. UV light, direct sunlight, can cause extreme staining and fading of items, particularly things like textiles and leather. It can also cause discoloration of paintings. Try to minimise the amount of light exposure if possible by looking at the duration you display things and also the direct light that you store it under. There are different types of light level recommendations that galleries and museums use. Items such as paper and textiles are extremely fragile, so we only illuminate these to 50 lux. However, when you look at other items such as an oil painting, these can be displayed at something like 200 lux, through to glass and ceramics, which are very stable and can have high light levels. So it's important to consider what material type you're dealing with. Also consider the type of environment that you are storing or displaying your item in. These may include looking at a stable environment, including temperature and relative humidity. Relative humidity can cause outbreaks of biological deterioration such as mould, and temperature can cause catalysts for chemical deterioration. So if possible, try and keep it in a stable environment where we have a wave effect of the temperature and relative humidity moving rather than big spikes and jumps which can cause immediate damage such as cracking of paintings or breakages of wood. When displaying your items, it's also important to ensure that things are supported. So if you have hats, you may want to stuff it with some tissue paper underneath to ensure that everything is supported. When using things like books or journals, it's important to also support it with something like a pillow, or you can use some other books or something that's soft to just support each edge as you open it up so that the spine is supported. Support is also very important when we look at how we store things. So for example, this object is in a flat box and it has bubble wrap which has been rolled and then covered in tissue so that it's not able to move around within the box when it's carried or lifted out of its storage space. You can also make custom boxes, and there are a number of instructions that can be found online. Again, these do have particular supports for particular objects. So this box here will open up and you can see the figure is sitting on a small pillow. Of course, packaging for objects can get very complicated because they are all different and so each box will be made specifically to the object to ensure that it's supported. Flat things like this particular wallpaper sample, or you may have certificates such as marriage certificates, birth certificates that you want to preserve, small books and the like, can be inserted into mylar pockets. They do have one edge that's open, so the material can be easily lifted out. This will ensure that you can handle it easier. It provides some support and rigidity. Also, it will stop direct contact from fingerprints, which can cause chemical deterioration. And it provides a slight enclosure microenvironment from fluctuating environmental conditions. As I mentioned, there are a number of composite objects. This particular box is a toy, and it has wooden blocks, paper samples. The box itself is made of wooden card, and then it's covered in paper. So what we would do is look at the material that is most fragile when wanting to preserve it, which is the paper, which is very susceptible to uptake of relative humidity, of moisture, as the hygroscopic material can expand and contract, and also susceptible to light damage. Things like metals are quite complicated, as the metal is much more stable than the textile ribbon. So again, we look at the most susceptible to damage, which is the ribbon, and you may see a lot of them that are discoloured, dirty, or have different levels of fading depending on if they've been folded, and some areas have been exposed while others haven't been. A common type of damage that we see with metals is corrosion and tarnishing. Of course, this will be accelerated by high relative humidity. It is important not to try and use over-the-counter products to clean them if possible. If you're particularly worried, you can always send it to a conservator. By putting it in a stable environment, you will stop these or slow down these chemical reactions, so that's important to think of.